Welcome back to another episode of Nothing Savvy Sports Podcast. I am your host, Trent, and these are my co-hosts, Taylor and Anthony.
What's up?
Nothing, guys?
I was waiting on Anthony.
I gotta get better at this intro. Oh, yeah. Anthony, where you at, man? Where's your head at? Where is it?
Here.
All right. Before we begin this podcast, I'd like to give a special thanks to Ink and Stitch for making these t-shirts for us. Gotta rep it out now. Ink and Stitch does screen printing, embroidery, signs, and banners, promotional products, and graphics designs. Check them out if you need anything custom done. But
I'll be honest
hey guys,
with you, I think I'll sleep in this shirt. It's a pretty amazing.
That's what I'm saying. Like when I put it on, it was the first time putting it on actually, and then I was walking around. I was like, dang, they're like super soft. But yeah, we got a couple left over. If anybody that listens to our podcast wants one, just holler at me, and I'll send it your way.
Linking on my brain. Okay. Linking on my brain. I got linking on my brain. Whoa.
Crazy games yesterday. Some shocking games going on in the NFL, and some heartbreakers for the Lions because Seattle just had to ruin the Lions' hopes and dreams. Don't know why they had to do that when the Lions were finally acting like a real football team. But, man, it was rough. Are y'all distracted? Y'all are distracted.
Well,
Taylor.
there is the game going on, of course,
I know.
even though it's at halftime now.
I don't know if it's much of a game. Is Taylor even there? Taylor, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
What
do you mean, am I there?
His camera's like broken for me right now.
You're frozen over there, but I'm sure you'll come in here in a little bit. But
you can still hear me, right? That's the important thing.
yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. Yes.
I think we were talking about it earlier with the Lions, though. They, with the way they finished the year, there could be some serious momentum for them going into the next season if they can just, play like half of a defense that they were Sunday night. If they can play half as good as they did Sunday night, then who knows what they can do next year.
Well, that's what we've always struggled with, like, at both sides, I feel like. The only year we didn't was when we had Stafford, Reggie Bush, and Calvin Johnson, and we had a couple other guys on the receiving core that were pretty dang good as well. But we always struggled with our defense. But now I feel like we have a good wrap on our offense. Like, we have enough weapons now that we can actually maybe focus on getting some players for our defense in the draft or trading or doing some things like that, or just getting experience with those guys. But that team, they said that I want to say they said in that last game that they had the most 30-plus games out of any NFL team over the Chiefs and the Bills and the Eagles and everybody. So I was like, that's saying something for a team that was – I want to say they were like 2-something last year, right?
I don't know if they lost.
It wasn't good.
That many.
I know it wasn't good at all. Like, I want to say that they were like 2-something or 3-something or something like that. But yeah, they were not a very good team last year to go and then have a winning season. So
their offensive and defensive coordinators are being possibly poached, though. The Colts are requesting permission to interview both of them. So I don't know why, no offense to the defensive coordinator. I mean, he did the best with what he's got, I guess, but I don't know why you would want him. The offense, yeah, that's a dynamic offense, and they're doing pretty well, even without all the weapons. But defense, interesting. So if their offense does lose their coordinator, maybe they'll be good still, but that would suck because they look really, really nice. I wish they could just bring back all their pieces and then get some extra depth in the draft. I mean, since they didn't make playoffs, they should be like a top 16 pick, right? Probably like pick 13,
not sure where they're
something
at.
like that. I don't know how deep the defensive draft is, but since there's a decent amount of quarterbacks early, they could fall, get a top 10 defensive player in the draft, add to Aiden Hutchinson. Would be pretty nice.
Yeah, that was another thing that I was kind of disappointed in was Aiden Hutchinson. Like I didn't see a whole lot from him. I don't know if it's just like his first year in the league being like trying to catch up, get the swing of things, but didn't see a whole
He started
lot.
playing well at the end of the year. Well,
Yeah,
actually, like the second half of the season, more like it. He did pretty well.
I'd have to look at his stats. When I watched games, I didn't see he wasn't
They're
playing like
deceiving.
JJ Watt, I guess, but like
No, they're deceiving.
Not even
Like at the
making a
beginning of the year, it seemed like he had a decent amount of sacks. He had like, I don't know, 5 or something, but 4 of them came in the same game or something like
Right.
that. So he looked good for one game and then was shut down the rest. So I don't like the sack stat. Because who was that? Myles Garrett was like that coming out of A&M, right? You would know better than me, Taylor, but didn't most of his sacks the season he got drafted come in like 2 games? I remember that was
Yeah.
one of his hits on his draft profile, was that maybe he's not as good as we think, which was wrong. But
just
That's
a
what I
little bit.
love about the that pass rush win rate that I think PFF is who tracks that stat throughout the year because, like you said, a lot of times some sacks can, a quarterback could get, flushed out of the pocket by somebody who really beat their guy, and you could just get lucky and be the guy that's standing there as he runs right into you or whatever. And you could be somebody who is constantly beating his guy to the quarterback, but the quarterback escapes up to the front or, escapes through the pocket or something. And for some reason, you're just not tallying those sacks every time. And so that pass rush win rate, that's where Myles Garrett, I think, is leading the league in that right now. I don't know. I don't think he's leading the league in sacks, but he's dominating in that pass rush win rate statistic.
as of January 3rd, that's actually not true. It's Micah Parsons. So I'm sure you guys are happy to hear that.
And
But
he's another one
Micah
that
Parsons,
not getting all the
30%.
sacks, but he's constantly beating his dude, always.
And the Dolphins' defense still was pretty buns even after they got Bradley Chubb. So I'm shocked to see that Bradley Chubb is actually the 5th ranked, because I guess he just couldn't get there in time to get sacks. But I thought he kind of was like evaporated off the face of the earth after he went to Miami, because I didn't really hear anything about him the whole time he was there. But I guess he's doing okay.
Huh. How about them Cowboys?
How about him?
It was an ugly
I
week.
saw Colin Coward. He said something about most of the time when you have a really good quarterback and they have a big stinker, they come back the next week and they play well. So that would be one of the hopeful things for you guys. Then maybe he'll come back and put on a show.
Yeah, but you said really good quarterback, so that's just not the case. You know what I mean?
Okay, a good quarterback. How about that?
Hey, man, people are calling for Cooper Rush. I saw it on social media. I saw it on Twitter. They were calling for him to come off the bench.
Yeah. If I will say this, if you find yourself in agreement with the majority of Twitter, you're probably on the wrong side of the argument. One thing, here's one thing I'll say though. I'm not going to make any predictions or anything like that, but actually I probably will. But so far this season, the Cowboys' response to losses has gone like this. They lost game 1, then they won 4 in a row. Then they lost a game, then they won 2 in a row. Then they lost a game and won 4 in a row. Then they lost a game and won 2 in a row. They just lost another game. 4 wins would be a Super Bowl. Just saying. The pattern, that would be the pattern.
Last week we talked about you being more afraid of the Packers than the Bucks. Now that the Bucks are who you're going to be facing with Tom Brady, how do you feel now that you actually have your matchup set in stone?
I don't understand. It's one of those things where I guess I do understand it, because the Cowboys are always the team that everybody puts under the microscope, and it seems like for some reason the 31 other teams in the league escape that microscope. So everybody's looking at last week for the Cowboys, and they're saying, "Ah, man, what a stinker the Cowboys had." And, maybe the last month for the Cowboys hasn't been great, even though their offense did absolutely destroy one of the best defenses in the league in Philadelphia. Somehow that means that the Buccaneers all of the sudden, after going 9-8 this year, are a better team because they've had such a good season, because their offense has been so high flying and their defense has been able to shut everyone down. I must have missed the great season that the Buccaneers put together that makes them immune from any criticism. Like, I don't get it. The Cowboys played bad on Sunday, really bad, but they're getting Leighton Vander Esch back this week. They're getting Jonathan Hankins back this week. They're getting Tyler Biadasz or Bidash, however you say his name. They're getting him back this week. He's been out since Indy. So he's been out a long time. And it's kind of, if you go back and look at it, it's kind of the same time frame as when the defense started sucking. And so I'm not going to sit here and say that Leighton Vander Esch is the solution to all of our defensive woes, but sometimes coincidence does have some causation in there. And Leighton Vander Esch goes down, and all of a sudden our defense has the worst stretch of the season. Was it caused by that? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But all I'm saying is the Buccaneers were probably the best matchup for anybody in the playoffs because they're from the worst division where somebody basically had to win by default. And so I don't understand how a 12-4 team is having everybody pick the 9-8 team. What, just because they have a geriatric quarterback? I don't get it.
Geriatric? Did you just call Tom Brady?
Has Tom Brady has he ever even lost the first round of playoffs ever?
Tom Brady?
Yeah, has he ever lost in the first round ever?
That's a good question.
I'm trying to find it.
Excuse me, they were
Tom Brady
8-9. They have a losing record. I don't get it.
For the first time ever.
I don't get it.
Who, Tom Brady or the Tampa Bay?
Tom.
I was going to say, it's got to be Tom. There's nothing to do with Tampa Bay. But I'm not really worried for the Cowboys. I'm really not. So that's what Anthony was asking me earlier. Like when we were filling out our playoff picture, basically, our predictions. I'm not worried about the Cowboys because I think they're going to go in there and they're going to steamroll Tampa. And I don't think Tom Brady has it in him. I really don't. I don't think he has it in him to carry the team anymore. And I don't think Tampa Bay's offense is going to be good enough to basically just beat the Cowboys' defense. And if Vander Esch is back and their defense is like what they were at the beginning of the year, there's no shot. As long as the Cowboys' offense plays good and doesn't shoot themselves in the foot like they did this last week, I don't think Tampa Bay stands a chance at all. Unless Tom Brady and Mike Evans just go absolutely insane.
That's what I'm betting on.
But I wouldn't bet on Mike Evans. Like, that connection, I wouldn't bet on it.
What about Chris Godwin?
Where's he been all year? Like, if
that's what I'm saying. They haven't been consistent all year.
How come they only won 8 games? They had 17 chances to pull away in a terrible
I'm not saying
division.
They're a better team. I'm just saying they could probably win. Tom Brady's only lost one wild card game ever, by the way, and it was against the Ray Lewis Ravens.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that any team can win in these matchups, but for my prediction, I think the Cowboys go on and move on to the next round. If Tom Brady does, there's no way they go to the Super Bowl. I cannot see it. And if he goes to the Super Bowl NFL's rigged, Illuminati, like it's all fake. But no, Cowboys are. I think they're better than Tampa Bay if they play good. If they come out and play like they did last week, they don't stand a chance. There's no way. That was awful, man. And it should have been a lot worse.
Yeah, after the punter fumbled the punt, and then our punt returner fumbled the punt return, and then Dak threw the pick six. If I was McCarthy, I would have pulled everyone right then. Pull all the starters, put in all the twos. It ain't going to happen for us today. For some reason, it's just not going our way. Get everybody out. Let's try to be healthy next week.
What do y'all want to talk about our playoff predictions? I just want to jump right into that.
Absolutely.
We can do it.
All right, I'll go first since y'all know how I am. There's always something big that I have to have happen in my parlays or anything. So just bear with me whenever you hear some of these. I'll start out with the Cowboys in Tampa. I got the Cowboys winning that one. I got the Giants taking it against the Vikings. And I have San Fran beating Seattle. I think the Giants are going to I think they're going to beat the Minnesota Vikings. I think the Vikings are just going to slip up. They're not a very good team. Seattle, I don't think they're nearly good enough to beat San Fran, but we'll see, I guess. The hot team, the Jags, they're gonna beat the Chargers. They're gonna do it. I think this is where Trevor Lawrence shows where Trevor Lawrence is in his career. He's stepping up. They're on a 5-win streak right now. They're hot. They're feeling it. They're taking them down. Bengals beat the Ravens. I feel like I don't know if the Ravens will play Lamar Jackson. He's been out for a while, and I've heard that he's not even practicing. So how are you going to have a guy that hasn't practiced in so many weeks come in and try to play a playoff game? Don't see that happening. So Bengals win that one. Bills in Miami. I got the Bills. Miami's doo-doo. Right after that, I got Philadelphia beating Giants. No way they're winning that game. Cowboys beating San Fran. And then the Bills beating the Bengals and the Jags beating Kansas City Chiefs. I know y'all are going to call me crazy for that one, but I say Kansas City sleeps on the Jags. Jags are hot. Jags come out, put a lead on them right off in the bat of the game, and then Kansas City just can't keep up. But that's probably not going to happen. And then right after that, we got Bills versus Jags. Bills win that one. Cowboys versus the Eagles. Eagles win that one. Bills and the Eagles in the championship. Eagles win the Super Bowl. How y'all feel about it?
I don't hate it. I disagree
Taylor,
with some
anything you
stuff.
gotta say?
That Jags pick, man. That is
That's what I said. I said there's always
that is
you
ballsy.
know how I am. I always gotta have something crazy in there. I always have to have something crazy. I have to. I can't help myself. I know that there's chances. I always believe in the underdog. So I had to throw it in there. I was like, everybody's going to pick Kansas City to beat anybody that Kansas City comes up against. Everybody's going to do that. Nobody's going to pick the Chargers beating the Kansas City. Nobody's going to pick the Jags beating Kansas City. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. So I did it, you know?
Well,
I'm going to be that
if
guy.
nothing
TCU
else, you were
today
different.
too, right?
Look, Anthony, all right? TCU might have dropped the ball today, but nobody saw this blowout coming, okay? But, yeah,
Okay.
especially after the Ohio State and Georgia game, I did not see this. Like, I saw, like, maybe Georgia beating them by a touchdown or two, but not putting almost 40 points up on them in the first half. Good gosh.
There's levels.
But
Okay,
Hey,
I'll
man,
go next.
been right and wrong.
We all have. Okay, so I'm just going to read it in my order, not the same order you did. I have Buffalo over Miami because Yeah, Miami hasn't been great, and Tua apparently still isn't cleared from protocol. So I would say Tua is really the only hope of them winning. Just
They said he was. They're talking about if he should play this next game, which is absolutely ridiculous. But yeah,
he's been out for like what 2 weeks now. I mean, yeah, it's his third concussion though. So
yeah, I say sit him till next year. Like give that brain a rest because
yeah,
that ain't doing nobody any good if
yeah. Well,
you
there's
end his career on that.
yeah, there's some rumblings about Mike McDaniel losing his job too. So uh, if he doesn't want to lose his job, he would probably want to win the first round of playoffs. But to beat the Bills, that might not happen. Anyway, we can talk about that after. So
Yep.
next I have Cincinnati over Baltimore for the same reasons you said. Lamar might not play, and Burrow. This is seemingly where he thrives. So go with Cincinnati. And then, unlike you, I picked the Chargers over the Jags. I think the Jags run,
Mistake.
well, has been nice. Their defense just can't stop anybody. So without your defense stopping anybody, I think a quarterback like Herbert is going to tear them up, and that means that Lawrence is going to have to make no mistakes because Burrow doesn't make too many mistakes. He'll probably drive down the field. I don't know what the over under is. I haven't actually looked at the Vegas odds at all, but I would probably put it on you that they're going to score at least 35 points on the Jaguars. So take that how you will. Do I think that do I think that Lawrence is going to put 35 up on the Chargers? He's going to have to, but I don't think he will. So yeah, Chargers on that one. And then I have San Francisco beating Seattle because who wouldn't pick that matchup? And then an upset, but I don't really think it's an upset, is the Giants over Minnesota. Minnesota's trash. We know this. And then I have Tampa Bay beating Dallas, not for many of the reasons that Taylor had, saying that most people are going against Dallas because X, Y, or Z. For me, it's just because I'm a Tom Brady stan, and I will always support Tom Brady. And as somebody who watched Tom Brady for 2 decades in the playoffs, I know how he plays, and I'm gonna bet on history, and we know what history says with the Cowboys as well. Okay, so next up I have San
Shots
Francisco. Yeah, next up I have San Francisco over Tampa Bay. I just think that Tom Brady, he's been struggling with really good defenses this year. Not that the Cowboys aren't a good defense, but San Francisco's defense is on another level. So I think that they'll give him a lot of problems. So I'm going to take San Fran over Tampa Bay. And then I take Philly over the Giants, and I actually think that's going to be a close game because the Giants are heavily slept on. And then I have Kansas City over Los Angeles Chargers because Patty Mahomes. I know I keep mentioning the quarterbacks, but at this point, which team doesn't have an elite quarterback? The only one that I can answer for that is going to be our boy, Brock Purdy. So every other team has an elite quarterback and Daniel Jones, but he's gone in my prediction. Okay, and then I have Buffalo over Cincinnati. Maybe Josh Allen can finally get to the promised land. And then for the next games, I have Philly taking out San Francisco, just because I'm rooting for the Jalen Hurts train. Been nice. And I have Kansas City taking out Buffalo in a similar fashion to last year, high-flying matchup. Maybe not a last-second touchdown, but high-flying matchup. And because I don't want Mahomes to ever come close to Tom Brady's Super Bowl record, I'm predicting that Philadelphia is going to win the Super Bowl over Mahomes without all of his weapons, only having a running back in Travis Kelce.
Making a mistake there with that Jags game, man. Telling you.
You can tell yourself that all week. They might not even make it into your second round prediction.
I can't tell if you're like refraining from commenting on the Tampa Bay Cowboys game or.
I'm going to save my comments. I'm going to save my comments for when I roll through mine.
Okay.
Well, that's right now.
All right. So I'm just gonna. It won't be in the same order. So I've got the Chargers beating the Jags as well. Advancing to the next round. I've got the Bills taking out the Dolphins. I don't think there's any way Tua plays. And without Tua, I think we've seen the Dolphins are just not the Dolphins that can put up any points, and you're going to have to against the Bills. I got the Bengals beating the Ravens. Don't think, and once again, if you don't have Lamar, then they're not the Ravens. I also have the Giants beating the Vikings. It was a close game a few weeks ago when those two met, and I think that the Giants can get the better of them the second time around, especially since the Vikings are one of those teams with a negative point differential that somehow figured out a way to win double-digit games. I've got the 49ers beating the Seahawks. I do think that game's going to be a little bit better than people are anticipating, but I think the 49ers do come out of that one with a win. I've got the Cowboys beating the Buccaneers. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being a game that the Cowboys win by double digits. I think the Cowboys hear all the chatter. I think they hear everybody talking about how bad they've been for a few weeks. I think that they hear everybody talking about how good Tom Brady is, about how, he just knows how to turn it on in the playoffs, man. Great job. Barely made the playoffs with your 8-9 record. But I would honestly be more worried about the Cowboys coming off of that game after winning in good fashion going into the next week with everybody hyping them up. But we'll roll on to the next round. Got the Chiefs beating the Chargers and the Bills beating the Bengals, setting up that Chiefs and Bills AFC title game matchup. I have the Eagles beating the Giants. I honestly paused a little bit on it because the Eagles have beaten the Giants twice, right? They were 2-0 against the Giants. They lost to the Commanders and the Cowboys.
I believe
their
so.
2 NFC East losses. And there's something that's always been said about it's tough to beat a team 3 times in 1 year. Even if that team has been one of the better teams in the NFL. It happened to the Cowboys in like 2008 or something like that. The Cowboys were the 1 or the 2 seed somewhere high, and they got a bye into the divisional round and played it had to have been 2008. It was the year the Patriots went undefeated and the Giants beat them in the Super Bowl, because the Giants played the Cowboys in the divisional round, and they beat the Cowboys after the Cowboys had beat them twice earlier in the year. It's tough to beat a team 3 times. So I don't think that that's a given that the Eagles are just going to come out and just march all over the Giants. But I do think that the Eagles get the win there. I also have the Cowboys beating the 49ers and going to the NFC title game. I think that game is going to come down to quarterback play. And I know everyone's going to point to all the interceptions that Dak has. I understand he leads the league in interceptions with 5 less games than every other quarterback. He also leads the league in interceptions thrown on non-turnover worthy plays, according to Pro Football Focus. So there's something to that. There's also something to the fact that he has thrown a bunch that are completely and totally his fault. But it has been very unlucky so far for him going this year. In the AFC title game, I've got the Bills beating the Chiefs. Hopefully another barn burner. In the NFC title game, my theory on the Cowboys is that they suck in cold weather. We saw it earlier this season against Green Bay. And we saw it this past weekend against Washington. Both games played in the cold, and for some reason, Dallas looks awful every time they're in cold weather. So as much as it pains me to say,
weak,
my brain says the Eagles win that game. And then I'll take the Bills in the Super Bowl.
Oh, yep.
But the fan in me knows that the Cowboys will rise up in Philadelphia, tear down the Rocky statue, bury it 6 feet deep, along with Jalen Hurts, and move on to the Super Bowl where they will take
Not
on
gonna
the
happen.
Bills and dominate the Bills and shut down the Bills. It's going to be 0-5 for the Bills in the Super Bowl coming up against the NFC East. Let's go, Cowboys.
I respect it.
I don't see that happening. I don't see it, man. But
You don't have to.
we'll respect it. Well, we can respect everybody's because I mean I did pick the Jags to beat Kansas City, and we'll see if that happens. So yeah. But yeah, some interesting things. I don't know why y'all keep talking bad about my boy Brock Purdy. You know, I got to get on Etsy and see if someone's made a shirt about him, just like they did for Cooper Rush, and get that ordered in the mail. But yeah, I mean, I think after this year, Brock Purdy lands a starting job somewhere, or I hope they don't let his talent go to waste just sitting on the back burner. But I feel like someone gives that guy a chance and a whole offseason to prepare to be the starting quarterback, he's actually going to be a good quarterback. Same thing with Cooper Rush. If the Cowboys just give him a chance, I mean,
the only time that Brock Purdy has really had to I guess Seattle did keep it close with him. Although didn't they kind of backdoor that and make it close towards the end? Wasn't it kind of? Yeah, they were up 21-6 for most of the second half, I think. But with the exception of the Raiders game, how many games has Purdy been in where the game hangs in the balance, where it's on your shoulders? You got to go figure it out. And that's the situation that I'm talking about, where I 100% trust Dak way more than I would trust Brock Purdy in that situation. I've seen Dak pull that off many times when the game's on the line.
This year pull it off though.
Yeah, we watched him pull it off. What game was that he marched right down the field and scored? Oh, he has done it this year.
So that's the beginning of the year.
Well, he didn't play the first 7 weeks of the season, so probably not.
Yeah.
Well, he had to do it against the Eagles.
I feel like with Purdy, we've talked about him being a possible game manager. He doesn't have to ever do too much. He hasn't been in the situations where he's had to be clutch. But I feel like if he is in a situation where he needs to be clutch, he almost never has to heave it downfield. Because he always just he has Christian McCaffrey for dink and dump, easy. He's got Debo for any little gadget trick plays. Ayuk is a good deep threat. He can get you easy catches 20, 30, 40 yards downfield. He's been doing it for the last 5 weeks. He's been really hot. And then you have Kittle. You have so many weapons that I feel like it just makes it easier for a quarterback who some would say is mediocre to do the job. And I'm sure that Kyle Shanahan knows that one of their weaknesses is going to be that they haven't been tested like that. So you would hope that he really, really harps on the 2-minute drill with Purdy to make sure that when the moment does happen, if it does this year, that he's ready. So I feel like we're putting a lot of emphasis on Purdy possibly choking, or Dak being more well versed and able to do that because he's been in those situations. But in my opinion, I don't think it's going to actually affect Purdy as much as maybe you do.
Might find out. Just might.
I hope.
Or we
I don't
won't.
know. I mean, either of those things could happen. They're on a 10-game win streak right now. That's all I have to say. And they still look good. So I'm saying if Cowboys don't win the Tampa game by 2 touchdowns or something, or don't look like a really good football team, and they got to play the 49ers, that game's going to be scary walking into. I don't know what's going to happen, because I know the Cowboys, when they played good football, the 49ers and them were one and the same almost, I would say. But if they start playing this crap ball and they barely beat Tampa and then they go up against the 49ers and think they're going to do the same thing, that game just might get ugly. But I don't know. Hopefully the Cowboys can turn it around and we have some good football games all through the playoffs and nobody gets like blown out. But we'll see what happens, I guess.
Well, I think on the
Don't think
AFC
that
side of the
Tampa beats
bracket,
Cowboys.
we're going to see a couple blowouts, especially with no Tua and no Lamar. I don't know how those games stay entertaining when the starting quarterbacks are gone for two of the teams.
Yeah.
Just curious for y'all, since we're bringing up Lamar, where do you think he goes when he inevitably doesn't get signed by the Ravens this year to a max deal?
He's
I
had
think
2
they
years
gotta
in a
keep
row
him.
now that he's had injuries where he's out of the playoffs. Right?
They've got to keep
I'm
him.
correct, right? Because
They've-
last year this happened.
They've changed that whole offense to be Lamar's offense. Like everything that they've done has been to cater it to a quarterback with the just uber athleticism that Lamar Jackson has. And if you
So
don't
do
have
you,
Lamar, it ruins their entire offense that they've built. Like who are you going to put in there at quarterback?
If they go and get CJ Stroud.
Huntley.
None of those guys are as
CJ
athletic
Stroud?
as Lamar. There is no other Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. And Stroud would not even, they'd have to rebuild the offense. I could agree with that. It's pocket passers in the draft this year. It's not really any scramblers.
I don't know.
But
I
the
don't
same
know.
thing goes for
I
Lamar,
think,
though. Like,
is
where
that
are you
going
going
to
to
start being
go?
a problem, though?
Yeah, I know, right? Well, he wants that Deshaun Watson guaranteed money. I don't think he's ever going, like, if Mahomes couldn't get a fully guaranteed contract, I don't think Lamar will get a guaranteed contract. What leverage does he have to pull there? I feel like the only teams, I don't even know if they could afford him. I don't know their cap situation, but the Colts have been vying for somebody like him for so long. They could go and risk it again this year and get like Will Levis or something like that in the draft and hope he's good. But he's like the Daniel Jones. He's like the guy that everyone just says is good. He came out of Duke, whatever. Like Levis is what, Kentucky or North? Yeah, he's not North Carolina. I think he's Kentucky. And they're just
Kentucky.
hoping he's going to be good because he has like a strong arm and stuff. So do you want to like risk your future on that again when you thought that Ellinger was going to be that way? Ellinger, however you say his name. Or do you go spend 40 mil a year on Lamar, have to rebuild your offense, like you said, because you can't just keep a typical, like, throw the ball 35 times a game offense with Lamar? I haven't been thinking about it. All I've been thinking about is the draft, how there's like multiple quarterbacks this year. We're talking about who's going to trade up and down. And now that the Bears have the #1 pick, what do you do with that? Because you have Fields. And so it's just interesting to me because there's so many quarterbacks up for grabs in the draft that are supposed to be good. And there's also Lamar. I don't know of any other quarterbacks that are free agents this year that are supposed to be really good, but Lamar, he's got to go somewhere.
Brady.
And I haven't heard of anybody talking about where he might go. Well, Tom, they were saying what, the Raiders. So I mean, if that happens, cool.
Makes a lot of sense.
That would be insane to watch. Do you think he would go there, though?
I do.
Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Josh
Because he-
Jacobs, plus your old OC. Why not?
Go home to your 26-year-old supermodel, make beautiful little babies, and retire before you break something that can't be fixed. Like, good gosh.
He's on the
way
TB12
too
diet, man.
old
He
now.
can't break anything.
He's going to get hurt, and it's going to end his career, and that's how he's going to go out. It's literally what's going to happen. One of those defensive linemen is going to crush this dude. He is not nearly as thick and as big as he used to be. He's going to get
Daniel
smacked
Jones
one
is an
day,
unrestricted
and it's
free
gonna
agent this year.
Apparently, I heard word that they're signing both him and Saquon to new deals. Like they want to. I'm shocked to hear that about Saquon. Well,
I'd do
Daniel
the
Jones,
same.
he's proving that he's decent. But he got a new head coach who actually knows what they're doing. He seems decent. He doesn't even have a weapon to throw to. They spent all that money on Kenny Galladay, who's a bum. Imagine what if they got Jamison Williamson and then he came off the ACL tear like for next year or something, and he's a beast. Like, we talked about. I know we talked about it through text and not on the show, but we talked about D-Hop being traded because
Dude,
he's
that would be
obviously sick of
insane.
it. Yeah, what
Where
about
did we
what
talk
about
about
Daniel
him
Jones
going?
and D-Hop? The Bears.
Bears. That's where it was.
But
I
they got
honestly think
Claypool, and they haven't done crap.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
not
no,
even close to being the same.
I don't know. I think they're
Well, I'm
I
not
think-
comparing him to D-Hop. I'm comparing him
No,
being a
yeah.
young, big receiver that, like, they're saying you need a number one. Claypool, he showed flashes last year. He could be a number one. I just don't know if they have the scheme for him with the Bears. I mean, Justin Fields throws the ball like 16 times a game. Is
It
any
might have been a
receiver gonna be
desperate
good?
thing. Who knows? Like they might have just been like going after any trade they could just to see if that would change up the way Justin Fields. Because I mean, at that point, Justin Fields was carrying the entire team on his back. That was when he was getting over like 100 yards of rushing and 100 yards passing every single game, or 200 yards passing. But
You want to know what's
mean-
funny about that, Trent?
what?
Ever since Fields became relevant for fantasy and started doing all those rushing yards and getting the touchdowns and scoring like 30-plus points a game for fantasy, the Bears didn't win a single game the entire season. Or
Yeah.
the rest of the season. I'm just saying that he
They're
was
still
crap.
bad.
I know, but he was throwing like 2 interceptions a game, being like really bummish, even when he wasn't throwing the ball a lot, sailing at 20 yards over like Darnell Mooney's head, and they actually could win games sometimes because he threw the ball. But now he just runs the ball and they couldn't win. So is that really like we talk about keeping Justin Fields in Bears uniform? Is there a way to make a trade work to get rid of that dude? He's a worse Lamar Jackson.
You do exactly what the Ravens did. You build the team around him. Like, why wouldn't you? It worked for Lamar and the Ravens until Lamar started getting hurt. Like, Justin Fields is a good.
Don't say a quarterback. He's a good.
He's not a good quarterback,
athlete.
but he's an absolute beast of an athlete, and he still can throw a good ball. It's not like he's like a horrible thrower. He's got a good arm.
I don't
He's
know.
got
if
a
he
pretty
throws
good arm.
Ball. Yeah, but I don't think he throws a good ball. Like compared
It
relative,
was his
like
first
compared
year,
to
though.
me. Yeah, but it was second year.
Let's see.
He's a year 2 player.
I mean, how else is he supposed to get the ball to our boy?
Oh yeah, it is his second
Well, that's
year.
what I'm
isn't it?
saying. D-Hop goes there. Yeah, it is. D-Hop goes over there, and the ball just gets flung over his head like he was doing for the rest of the receivers. Then he's worthless. Even D-Hop, I think he has one of the largest catch radiuses out of all receivers in the league, and even he couldn't catch it from McSorley. McSorley's worse than Fields throwing, though. I'll give you that. But
I was gonna say, are you really gonna compare them?
no. He's not that bad, but he's been known to. Maybe it's just misreads, but he's been known to fling it way over his receiver's head. So I wouldn't bet my future on Justin Fields. I wouldn't. I would try to trade him early before he loses more value.
Who's gonna take him though at this point?
The Ravens, if they don't take
anybody,
Lamar.
like people that. Yeah, cheaper.
That would be
cheaper Lamar.
that would be interesting.
Sign and
I
trade.
mean,
maybe?
who else is gonna throw to N'Keal Harry though?
Well, they
I
were
mean, he doesn't
saying
need
that
anyone
since
to
they
throw to
have the
him.
number
He just-
one pick, you could go get a new quarterback.
Who? The Bears.
Yeah.
So okay, what draft capitals or
They
players
could pick up
do you
C.J.
think?
Stroud. That wouldn't be
Yeah.
a bad place for C.J. Stroud to go.
Nope, it'd be good. Stroud
With all
there.
those receivers,
trade Fields.
N'Keal Harry would be so excited about that.
Come
That'd be
play
his
with
time
me.
to shine. Come play with me. He had one catch for 7 yards last
Saw
game.
it. He had it, dude. He's doing it for us, man. Every
He
single
is
week he gets
Probably
us
the
one
most
catch.
consistent guy
Mhm.
for getting one catch every
If you
single
need
game.
1.5 to 3 points per game, guaranteed.
I almost forgot. I forgot to say it. Y'all almost let me forget.
The championship.
I won the fantasy
Championship.
football game. I'm the champion. Back to back. 2021 and 2022, baby. Let's go.
2-time.
2-time. It's the 2-time. Quit
Sure,
playing
you've
with
been
me.
in the league like 4 times.
need
If
to-
you go back through the whole history of it.
Yeah, I did. Whenever you sent it to me, I was looking through. I thought I had 5. I thought I won 2 at the beginning, but then I remembered I was like, no. What I did was I won the first year. It was either the first or second year I was in there, and I had like all the Lions players because I remember you telling me like you don't get that many Lions players, but that was the year that like Stafford and Calvin Johnson and Reggie Bush like just went off, so it didn't even matter. Like I think I lost one of my games because like my entire team was out because I had like 3 or 4 Lions players. But then the next year I did the same thing with the Lions because I was just ignorant to fantasy football at that point. and you were like, "Don't do that." And then I think I got like almost last place the next year, and then I had to start learning.
Taylor,
But
do you know your brother's draft strategy?
No.
do you want to know it?
No, hey, this is mine. You don't know what he does?
No, I don't.
I can't talk fantasy football with this guy because he pretty much blows me off because that's his strategy. His strategy, and I'm giving it away right now because I don't think there's anything anyone can do about it anyway. He goes into every draft and does zero research on any player that he wants. He goes in and he picks who he feels is good. He doesn't know values. He doesn't know the value of a player in terms of auction, in terms of where they go. He just looks at the ESPN like ADP value and he just fucking picks. I can't believe he does that. I can't believe he goes in and now he's 2 years in a row and he's like, yeah, and this dude busted on Cam Akers, drafted him for like $28, spent more than an eighth of your entire budget, and he still has a team that can win. I just don't understand how you do that.
This is where fantasy football is at. The first 3 to 4 weeks in fantasy football is your most important part of fantasy football, and it is staying on the waiver wires and making sure that all your picks were the right picks, and that you're not missing out on a sleeper inside the waiver wires the entire time it's going on. I want to say that one of my guys that was in the championship game was from the waiver wires. Like, I've had a couple guys that I just feel like they're going to do good, or like I'm like, oh man, and then I'm just like, oh, I got to pick this guy. I'm feeling it. Like Debo was that guy for me last year when I won it, and Debo like went. I think I had Cooper Kupp and Debo, right? Yeah, I think I did. I had Cooper Kupp and Debo, and I just went. I mean, it was insane. I was almost unstoppable last year, but I just, I don't like reading up or doing the mock draft because the way you do your mock draft, it's never going to go that way in the real draft. Like, there's no point. There's no point in doing it. I've done it before, and it screws up my entire draft. And yeah, the whole Cam Akers thing, he almost, I think the guy that I played in the championship had Cam Akers. And Cam Akers, like, last 3 games, he was scoring like 20 to 30 points. And I was like, if this guy started the year scoring 0 points for me and then comes back at the end of the year and is the reason I lost, I'll lose my mind. But he wasn't. Stephon Diggs brought it back for me in week 18.
I'm gonna say it's weird that he's suddenly good again. Like, I don't understand.
I don't think he was ever bad. They just never gave him a chance.
Bro, he was bad at the beginning of the year. He was averaging like a yard a carry. It was bad.
Yeah, but so when he started at the beginning of the year, they just like were throwing that other guy in there, and then Cam Akers would come in like somewhere like later on, or they were switching back and forth. Now that he's getting like almost 100% of the snaps, or getting like more than the other guy, he's doing great. I think
the other guy
got screwed him over
more now too.
Well, yeah, you kind of have
naturally.
To
yeah, I'm about to say you use Kupp and Stafford, so don't read in too much on him. Then I'm not drafting him next year.
The reason that
Stafford
the Seahawks, the reason the Seahawks won was because Baker Mayfield doesn't have enough arm. If that had been Stafford in the game with a healthy arm, throwing that ball down the sidelines where the Seahawks guy picked it off, touchdown all day.
Stafford doesn't have a healthy arm either. He would have led that guy
so much, huh?
Stafford his elbow is shot. I think that's one of the main reasons why they didn't want him to come back and hurt himself.
No, that's what I was saying. If that had been Stafford in there with the healthy arm, like that'd have been a ball straight down the sidelines on the run. But Mayfield, I mean, the dude literally had to stop to come back to it, and that Seahawks guy or safety just came over and picked it off, and then almost screwed him over by not returning it and showboating. But
did you guys see that Sean McVay's thinking about stepping away from the game? Apparently,
talk about a scumbag move. Bro trades away all the picks.
Yeah, he's apparently stressed out. The past year has taken its toll on him. And I'm like, bro, you made your bed, now lie in it. Like, you sold your whole future to go get your Super Bowl. You got it. And now this is the price you pay. You have no picks. You have a quarterback that's too old, and he's going to retire soon probably. And you don't have a backup quarterback option unless you're thinking about signing Mayfield after this season. I mean, and there's no draft picks.
Maybe get a little
can't
discount.
Make any moves. Maybe. But like,
I say go
there's
after a
nowhere to
quarterback.
go now.
in the
Now
draft.
somebody else is going to get stuck with it. This is why in dynasty leagues, in order to trade away future draft picks, you have to pay your league fees for that next year, so that somebody doesn't get stuck in this exact situation that McVay's going to stick somebody in next year.
That's true. And I don't know what they call it in the NFL. I know in the NBA it's called the luxury tax. I don't know if that's still the same in the NFL, but I'm pretty sure they're like way over the cap. Like they did the thing where you extend their money into seasons later. You know what I mean? To manipulate the cap. They did that. So their cap is like locked up for multiple years. So they can't do anything. They could release players and maybe take a cap hit and cut a little bit, but they're screwed on draft picks. They're screwed on salary cap. All of their players that they picked up are old. Like you had Von Miller, he's gone. You brought in Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner's going to be done soon. You have Jalen Ramsey, who honestly he's been there for like 3 or 4 years now. He might be coming up on a contract extension soon, unless he has like 1 year left for next year. But most of their players are like getting old on defense. It was their offense that they invested everything in, and even their offense, Matt Stafford, old. You have Cam Akers on a rookie contract, cool. That's all you got. And then you have a bunch of like young receivers who aren't that good, in Van Jefferson, Tutu Atwell, stuff like that. So your money is gone. You can't do anything. You're literally completely locked up, and now he wants to complain like a little baby and be like, oh yeah, maybe you'll pursue TV or something. Kind of annoying, kind of a scumbag thing to do.
Yeah, not too cool.
I'm glad Jared Goff made that comment about his girlfriend all those years back.
Jared Goff made a comment about his girlfriend.
Yeah, and then he got traded like the next year before camp, I think.
Dang.
He said she was hot or something like that.
Maybe he wanted to get traded. Maybe he unagi'd him.
I think it was actually that Super Bowl year. After the Super Bowl year is when he said it. Still can't believe he was in a Super Bowl. That's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Jared Goff or Sean McVay?
Goff.
I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I think it's dumb that he was wearing gloves in the Packers and Lions game. Like, the dude comes out at the beginning of that game and starts throwing horrible balls, and I'm like, what's going on? And then they start talking about it, and he's like wearing gloves. I'm like, wear a hand warmer. Like, why are you going to change up your entire game by wearing gloves when it's like 20? It was like 28 degrees or something like that outside. Like, I mean, that's cold, but it's not like super cold.
It worked.
Come on. And then Aaron Rodgers is out there just barehanding it.
Dude, they're scaring me again. Like, DeAndre Swift actually was getting play again, trying to like entice people. And also, what's y'all's opinion now on Amon-Ra? Because now they're really spreading the ball around the last few games. He hasn't really popped off like he used to in a few weeks because they've just been spreading the ball. Like DeAndre Swift, 7 catches, Khalif Raymond, 4, DJ Chark, 3, and then Amon-Ra had 6, so 1 less than DeAndre Swift. But it just feels like he's not getting phased out, but they're not targeting him downfield like they used to, and not doing wide receiver screens for him like they used to. This is purely a fantasy question because I had him in one of my other leagues, and he was like really, really good for me pretty much all year. But now I'm worried about drafting him because next year also Jamison Williams is going to be in there getting targets.
I honestly think that they're still like figuring out the offense. Like, as crazy as that sounds, like, I still feel like they're still testing things. Like that last game, they knew that they had nothing to lose when they went into that game. So it was almost like they were doing some crazy stuff. Like, I think they went for it on 4th down almost every single time that I saw. And I mean, it was just like they were doing like I think they did like a crazy lateral pass in the middle of it. I don't know if that game could have like been the same as the other ones. I don't know what Amon-Ra did last week, but I know
Not much.
I traded him away in my other league, or if we're talking fantasy, because it was almost like he wasn't consistent enough.
I know that in our league that we all mutually share, there was more trades, but in my experience, when it comes to trading, if you guys could help me out, go for it. There's people who are valued really, really high, but nobody will ever make like a fair trade. They always want to get the win. So like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of somebody who started hot. Like Justin Jefferson started off really hot this year. And if somebody wanted to trade away Justin Jefferson, instead of doing a fair trade like Justin Jefferson for like Cup and like a, I don't know, some running back that was fair, like a third round running back or something. If they wanted to really go all in on Justin Jefferson, they would say, "Oh yeah, no, that's not nearly enough." Like they need to shaft you in my other leagues to let a trade go through. They will not do fair trades that balance both teams. Like if I have so many running backs and they have so many receivers, and I'm like, why don't we just yours is on the bench and he could score me 15 a game. Let me give you my running back that's on the bench who could score you 15 a game. It's a win-win. They don't think like that. They just think about shafting. And how do you get is that just a league where you can't make trades happen very often, or do you guys have any secrets? Because I need input for
No,
next year.
that's a league with like inexperience. Like the my other league was like that at the beginning. The trades are finally starting to like actually make sense. Like we for the longest time we had a vote. Like everybody had to vote on the trade for the trade to be processed because so many people were getting screwed over that we had to actually like police it almost. It was ridiculous. And then I would like text people sometimes and be like, do not make that trade. Like if you make that trade, your team is done. So at first in that league, I think it is like when you start a league out or you have a league that's like y'all's where some of the guys that you've told me about just sound like they're like, I don't even know if it's that they're inexperienced or whatever. They're just being a-holes, I guess. But
Okay, before you continue, I'll give an example so that Taylor knows what you're
yeah.
talking about. Taylor, who has more trade value, Amari Cooper or Amon-Ra St. Brown, like midway through the season?
Midway through the season? What was Amari Cooper doing? I'm not familiar enough with what Amari was doing and what Amon-Ra was doing. I mean, I think
Nothing, really.
Amon-Ra, I was going to say, but at least Amari Cooper had that history of being that guy that you can count on to go get catches and stuff. I don't know. I probably would have. I don't know.
Amon-Ra was averaging about 17 to 18 points a game midway through the season, and Amari was averaging like 12 or 13 because he was boom bust. And the dude told me that he would not only would he not straight up do a 1-for-1 Amon-Ra for Amari, he wanted Amon-Ra and D-Hop, who had not come back yet because it was like he was coming back week 7 because of the suspension. He wanted both of them for Amari. That's the type of trades I was like people were getting. They did not want to move anybody, and they thought that the values of their players because they drafted them means that they're immediately like 2 times more valuable than my drafted players. It was miserable to do anything with these people. And there was like 3 or 4 guys in the league like that.
Yeah,
to
that's
me,
why I
that's
like
guys that are
if I
scared
ever
of
do a
making
trade
moves, though, more than anything. Like I think in that situation, you're so terrified of being the guy that dang it, I might have lost that trade, that you overcompensate and you're like, okay, just to make sure that I don't end up being that guy, I'm gonna make sure I stick it to the dude that's trading with me. And like you kind of have to just get over that fear and just accept that sometimes you're going to make a trade and then you're going to look back on it a couple weeks later and think, that probably was a bad move. That probably sucked. And like, it's going to happen, whatever. But then you're also going to make trades that work perfectly for you and make your team a lot better. So I mean, you got to get over that fear of it and just be willing to risk it.
One of my friends in that league is the commissioner. We've been playing 2K since like NBA 2K11 or something. So like we've known each other for nearly 13 years. We made a trade preseason. It was like 2 days before the actual season started. He had CeeDee Lamb, he had Dak, and he had Dalton Schultz. He was trying to get rid of a Cowboy because he didn't want all of them. He lives in Dallas as well, by the way. And so he was trying to shop CeeDee. So I gave him Cortland Sutton and AJ Dillon. And I took the risk, and it turned out both of them pretty much busted this season, and I got a free like top tier wide receiver for it. So like it worked out for me, and that was the first trade he's ever lost ever in our league, and we've been doing this league for like 5 years. Normally he's the one that's known to shaft people because he like takes advantage, I guess, of like newer people, and this is the first one that bit him in the butt. So and that was like one of the only trades that went through that entire year was that first trade that didn't even start before the season or that happened before the season started. So and then me and we traded. You sent me a trade offer. You were the only one. Everyone else in our league, they were just probably trying to take advantage of me as a first-time player and somebody who doesn't know y'all in person, or except I know Trent, but they sent me horrible stuff. At least you sent me DeAndre Swift or Mike Evans, two people who were both like playing below their potential, who could have just like erupted. So I understood the trade and thought it was fair. But everyone else in that league, they were like, let me get Joe Mixon and Keenan Allen, who had been on my bench for like 8 weeks in a row, and I'll give you Jamal Williams. Like they were trying to do stuff like that, like exactly what I was talking about in this other league.
Hey,
I was like,
Lions
man,
touchdown
it was the same
record
dude
holder.
too. I can't remember.
I
Yeah,
was gonna say he was scoring touchdowns.
I know, but I watch
I
football
love
enough
Jamal
to know
Williams.
that that's not.
He is my favorite.
I love him as a person as well, but I know enough that you can't count on 2 touchdowns because you're on the goal line every single week, and that's what scared me the most. But so anyway, y'all's advice is that they are scared, and there's nothing you can do about it, or they're inexperienced. So that helps me.
I just think they're inexperienced, or they're
Yeah.
like. I think it's like a natural thing to like want the most out of the trade and to screw the other guy over. I think it's just like normal. Because like when I go to like trade and stuff, I usually have to stop myself and be like, okay, well, they're not going to trade this because this would only benefit me. So I have to give something away that's almost a sacrifice to be able to get what I need. So.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing, Trent, about I'm not going to tell you to change because you're insane with all your wins that you get in these fantasy leagues, but that's an advantage I have every single year, except in this auction league because I had never done one before. In my other league, I draft so well every single year that my bench is full of players that score between 12 and 15 points a game that I can't start because I don't have enough room, and I just package them with like a player that also scores like 12 or 15 to upgrade to a person who scores like 18 to 20. And just make my team better. And I do that every year, like 2 or 3 trades every single time because of my research and the time I put in to know who's going to be a sleeper. And I can get them in the 10th round and they're going to be a beast. And that's why I stayed away from Deontay Bumson this year because I knew that he was going to suck not having Big Ben. And I was right. And yeah.
That's probably the only research I do before a draft.
Sleepers?
Is sleepers. Because they're probably the most important. If you can get someone in the later rounds that's literally going to be like a top 20 like fantasy guy, that's huge. If you can get like top guys and then just randomly get someone like at the end of the draft, which is really hard to do in Taylor's league, the league that we're all in. Like it's really hard because if you're thinking about a sleeper, the guy that's picking before you or we do auction now, so the guy that's like the guys you're fighting with on the auction, those guys are thinking the same thing. That league is so frustrating sometimes. That's why I love playing it because it's extremely competitive. But
me and Taylor have very similar thoughts because he was the one that I told y'all every single time I had a player in mind, he was always bidding it up. D-Hop, Damian Pierce, I think. You did it to Lenny, which I didn't get.
Who was
you did.
Who was the one you accidentally bought? You bid it up too high and you accidentally got?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was Leonard Fournette.
That was bad, man. He was so good he was good for 6 weeks and then he just fell off a cliff.
Oh, dude, it got bad. I had him too in my other league. He was only good for like 2 weeks, I think.
Oh, it had to be more than that.
He was first week against the Cowboys. I know that. And then, because I remember thinking to myself, man, maybe it won't be as bad as I thought it was going to be. And then it very quickly was every bit as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. I had him in my other league too, and it was bad.
You were relying on him getting like 7 garbage time receptions a game. That's what he was doing. He would have 1 reception going into the 4th quarter, and then you'd check, and it'd be like 6 receptions for 35 yards. You're like, oh, thanks for the free 10 points, buddy. Needed that because you had me like 3 the entire game.
That was literally the championship for me. I needed Stephon Diggs. Like I think I had like I can't remember how many points he had before he scored that long touchdown. Like I looked at Taylor. We were both with each other, and I looked at him. I was like, I think I'm done, dude. I was like, there's like barely any time left in the 4th quarter, and I just don't think and then they threw this bomb to Stephon Diggs, and I was like, dude. And then I would think I was down still by like 1 point, and there was like 3 minutes left, and I was like, the only way they pass the ball here is if they get the 3rd down. And I guess they got the 3rd down or something and dumped like some little small pass to Stephon Diggs for like 7 yards with 1 reception. That won me the game, man. Yeah, I love those.
I'm happy for it.
Yeah, so on the Leonard Fournette
That's the second time I've done that.
He he was very dependent on receptions, which is weird for as big of a back as he is. So, like, the first 2 games of the season, he had 21 and 24 carries. And so I remember thinking after week 2, I was like, he didn't have as many points against the Saints as he did against the Cowboys, but at least he's getting, like, the workload. Like, he's the guy. And then the next week he got 12 carries. The next week he got 3 carries. But then his receptions started ticking up. He had 7 catches against Kansas City, 10 catches against Atlanta, 6 against Pitt. And it was like, it didn't make any sense to me that I think I had already gotten rid of him by that point. But 10 catches for Leonard Fournette? It's absolutely wild.
Especially as
he
someone who
had
was
more catches than anybody on that
known
team.
to have stone hands.
Yeah.
Yep.
Probably.
Stone hand Lenny
Well,
in Jacksonville, at least.
hey, yeah, I mean, when you throw the ball 60 times a game, the only way you're touching the ball is if you're catching it. And that's probably why Lenny was like, you know what? I better just start catching the ball because I'm not touching it anymore. I'm like, good gosh. Tom Brady came there and he was like, dang it. Better get with that catch machine.
Apparently this happened last year too, where he started to get phased out a little bit. I don't know if it was by Rojo or something, but Tom Brady, I guess, went and talked to the coaches and got him back into like being sort of the workhorse because he complained. And this year he openly complained as well to the media, saying that he's unhappy with his usage because of Rashad White coming in, but nothing changed. He just stayed at being nobody, and they said they're going to ride the hot hand.
Where's he going to go?
He's going to be the Adrian Peterson, Latavius Murray, more than likely. He's just going to be that big bruising back that you put on the goal line and hopefully be able to play until he's like 33, 34. Maybe even Frank but that'd be hard.
Man, this college game is bad, man. There's 14 minutes left, and TCU cannot move the ball. Sad, but yeah, he's gonna need to be that 1-2 punch guy that some team needs, and I guess that's a good thing because he was a little bit injured this year with his ankles and stuff. But I think we're about done.
Stetson Bennett would have over 50 points right now in fantasy if he was playing in the NFL. Ridiculous.
Oh, yeah, that's easy.
Ridiculous.
They just made you'll have to join that league with us this year. I think we should probably just start one up next year, Taylor, just to see how it goes. But there's a new, I think is it an app or is it a website now? College football fantasy.
It's been an app. Or it's been a website or whatever. Yeah. You'll have to join that one with us because I did it, but I didn't really pay attention to it, and I didn't jump on it. But we should probably do one next year just for fun.
Yeah.
So we can talk about it. And that'll keep us with our heads on certain players and stuff.
For sure. Before we leave, I know you were saying question for I guess Taylor because he probably knows more. That Ohio State receiver, that Njigba guy, whatever the heck his name is he that Jackson Njigba, I think is his name? Is he good?
Oh yeah, he's very, very, very good.
I don't know if his draft stock fell, but I saw that he was projected to go like 19, and the Patriots have the 14th pick, and they're in desperate need of a receiver. And I was wondering if he would be able to go to the Patriots because I feel like that'd be nice, but I don't know his metrics or anything. If he's really, really good, then stud. I would like that.
He's an absolute stud. He just
decided not to play.
The next in a long list of names coming from Ohio State to be absolute beasts.
Marvin Harrison, dude, I swear, I don't know if you guys play Dynasty. Next. I think you do, Taylor, at least. I want Marvin Harrison Jr. Oh, gosh, he's going to be the number 1 overall pick. I don't care what quarterbacks come out. Dude, he's like his dad. He is insane. He looks so good. But anyway, yeah. Are we done? Is that what you were getting?
I think you know what time it is.
Hey, okay. I had to write this one down. Come this weekend, I don't think we'll see a surprise. Come Monday night, we just may see the Cowboys' demise. The GOAT's in town, baby. Let's go.
Oh man.
The GOAT is.
Oh man, you heard the guy.
The GOAT is.
You heard it. He's goat cheese now. You heard the man. Nothing savvy. We out.